Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of The Inside. I am Babli Jonathan. We are coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. 3 civilians killed and 2 vehicles set ablaze in the southwest regional chief town, Boya. A 16-year-old young girl killed in the Kumba, still in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. 2 teachers, including a headmaster, killed in Besa in the Boyo division, northwest region of Cameroon. A military vehicle ambushed and exploded, and the residence of the divisional officer of Kumba 3 attacked, and the administrator saved by the Rapid Intervention Battalion. These are some of the recent incidents recorded in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon a few days into the 2023-2024 academic year, and all these happening amidst a 2-week lockdown imposed by pro-independence fighters in the crisis-stricken regions. And for more than 6 years, they have been fighting to carve an independent state. One of those identified as leaders of the secession movement in the diaspora has been arrested in the United States of America. Eric Tato is said to have committed several federal crimes, and in the midst of the armed conflict, the Cameroon government is equipping civilians, including pro-independence fighters, to fight insecurity in the 2 regions. Meantime, the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa is bringing together critical stakeholders to engage a peace process, a dialogue process with the Cameroon government in view of bringing solutions to various conflicts affecting the country. We shall be analyzing all these. We are analyzing all these in this edition of The Inside. Meet our first guest in some few seconds. Our first guest today is Dr. Violet YIGHA. She is a civil society leader, executive director of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Babila, for having me.
Right, you're living in Boya, and you were there this week when the recent incidents recorded there occurred. So can you tell us more about what exactly happened in Boya this week?
Thank you so much. I would say Monday, usually we had the normal standard lockdown. I'm sure it was recorded in the news. Most schools barely opened on Monday. Tuesday, things picked up. Students went to school, and schools resumed. But now on Wednesday, we woke up with series of gunshots that sends a series of fear to parents that restricted them from sending their children to school, and it even resulted to the killing of 3 persons in Munya and 2 burns in their vehicles. So it made many parents to be afraid. Even the students themselves were afraid because the gunshots were really loud. And today is really timid. I tried to do a survey of how people felt about yesterday, and everybody is like, I'm sure this time around there's need for us to respect the shutdown, because I'm sure that the signal of Thursday meant that they want us to respect it. So everybody
generally speaking, how are the people reacting to, how are the people of Boya reacting to the gunshots? In some areas, to some people, it has become almost a normal thing. Gunshots here and there every day. Children talking of popcorn and so on.
Yes, for Boya, normally gunshots is not everything that we hear every day. Especially the one of Thursday. It's not something that we hear every day. So it came really as a surprise, because usually even when they say we have a shutdown, Boya usually will go out and go about their activities, even though it might be timid. But the one of yesterday certainly sends a warning that there is need for us to watch out. So this day, on Friday today, most people wanted to watch out before going out. You understand? They want to observe to be sure that cars are moving and all of that. My team, for example, going towards Munya, most people want to watch out before coming out, because that's where the incidents happened. That's where people were burnt. And you remember Thursday was Munya market. So that's why it's actually affected many people who left early and went to Munya market. So everybody wants to watch out, everybody wants to be sure that everything is okay before they go to school, before they go about their normal activities.
Well, when we look at what is happening, what we've recorded in these few days, what can we say about the situation on ground, the actual situation on ground? You are there in Buea, and you certainly receiving information in your capacity as Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. You're receiving information from across those two regions because you've been monitoring happenings there. What is the actual situation on ground?
You know, we thought as the years goes by, things are getting better, but it seems it's even getting worse by the day. Because unlike last year, this year seems to be more troublesome. This year seems to send us a message that there's more danger lurking ahead. And it is worrisome because you are not sure of what will happen the next minute you send your student to school. You are not sure of what will happen the next minute you want to leave for work. And we are getting stories, we are getting testimonies from people that they are even attacked for going to work within this period. So it's becoming more troublesome by the day.
It is said that the two teachers who were killed in Besa in the Boye Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, including the headmaster, they were killed shortly after they attended a back-to-school meeting. That was before school resumption.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, that certainly will send a warning to every other teacher that you should be careful before going to school. So you find some people, before they want to go to work, they have to disguise before they go to their workplaces, which is certainly, I mean, how do you even become effective if you are in total fear of the unknown?
There seems to be a kind of resistance to all the efforts that are being made to put an end to the situation. There seems to be kind of resistance on the other side, and of course with the use of force coming from the government forces or the state forces that are on the ground. That conflict seems to be contributing to kind of worsen the situation or maintain the status quo, maintain the deadlock.
Yes, I think I don't know if I should say the lack of collaboration or the lack of understanding is making everyone wants to show how powerful they are, which is making now the population suffer more from the after effect of the crisis. But in every situation, everyone wants to, the government certainly is trying to protect the citizens, which is its duty to protect the citizens. And on the other hand, the non-state armed groups are also trying to make their points, because like what we saw on social media, they captioned the Munya incident reinforcing shutdown, especially in Buea, because it's known that Southwest, usually Buea especially, usually goes out of their way to at least ensure that education, which is a fundamental right, is respected.
And the rights, that fundamental right is
being abused.
Yeah. We had a report this week of a student who has not been to school for 5 years, and there are many of them like that who been deprived of their right to education. Many.
It's not only not going to school, it has a lot of after effects, because now we have a lot of unaccompanied children on the streets because they cannot go to school. A lot of parents, after 4 years of waiting, hoping that maybe the solution will be found in the to the crisis, are now sending their children to relatives in towns for them to be able to attend school. But now when they come to these relatives, they are either abused, attacked, or violated because of their vulnerability. So we find it's not only the fact that children's fundamental human rights are being abused by them not going to school, but we get other things like gender-based violence, violence against young girls, yes, which leads now to a lot of teenage pregnancies that we witness. And some of them who have been displaced, they are even faced with more vulnerabilities, because now you get issues of circumstances of survivor sex, because they have to survive. They are now lured into engaging into prostitution and other activities that for survivor that leads them to a series of violations.
Right. And when you have certainly been talking to some of the persons who are trapped in this very difficult situation, some of the internally displaced persons who are now struggling to survive, and some of them who have gone through horrible experiences. When you talk to them, what are they saying? What do they tell you about their perception of the whole thing, what they feel about the whole thing, what they have been through, and so on?
Trust me, the main message is I want to go back home, because there's no place like home. Some will tell you I had my farm where I wake up every morning and I go and harvest my food crop and come and cook. Now I wake up and I basically rely on others to feed me. I wake up and I basically rely on others to survive. My kids, I wake up, I don't know the future of my kids. I don't know what my kids will eat. I don't know what my kids will become of tomorrow. So it's really traumatizing. You realize that the mental health of people are really, really down. People are traumatized because they don't know the future of tomorrow. They're not sure of what will happen to them tomorrow. And
they live with uncertainty.
With uncertainty, with a lot of fear and uncertainty. And it's not only that, the fact that you cannot even feed, you cannot even know what you will eat tomorrow is a lot. It gives you, I remember one woman telling me, I barely sleep. I sleep like 1 hour or 2 hours a night. And when I get up, I start thinking, I have 11 children at home, nobody to support me. And even when you come with a humanitarian aid, non-food items, what will I eat tomorrow? Because this is just like food for 1 week in my house. So when you go, what will I do? And even when we've gone to a milestone in trying to provide not only psychosocial support and counseling, but also providing short-term skills building, it is still not, because to that we see it as a safe space, you understand, because with the short-term skills building they can now engage in sustainable activities that can provide money for them to take care of their different needs. But still, there's nothing like home. They certainly want to go back home, want to feel the impact of their different homes. There are some who are forced to rent houses today, who were owners of houses.
And living in this kind of environment, living in uncertainty and so on, especially for the children, definitely has
repercussions,
a far-reaching impact, even on their mental stability. Even when they go back to school, they may find it very difficult to catch up with the other students.
With the other students, yes. And mark you, some of them actually face problems with the host communities, which they are now marked as IDPs, because there's this antagonism between the IDPs and the host communities that make them, even increases their state of mental health. And that's why we keep calling on that, despite all, right to education should never be something that we want to play with, because we cannot be fighting for independence, as we say. We cannot be fighting for secession, and then the future of what we are fighting for is being destroyed, whatever it is.
Are the numbers increasing? Numbers in terms of those who are being displaced, those who are caught in some kind of very difficult situations today, and they come to you normally to kind of voice out because they believe that your organization is somehow a safe place for them to be able to voice out their
Yes, it does. It is like every other day, because you think by the day you are having more of returnees, but you realize that you're having more of persons, because every other day is, we have shutdowns now every other year. September, you have 2 weeks, you have 3 weeks shutdown. So nobody wants to wait to hear that, okay, my child will not go to school for 2 weeks, my child will not go to school for 1 month. So you find parents looking for alternatives to move their children to safer areas. And when they do that, they either have to displace, move with their children, or send them to relatives. So every other day we have different cases. We hear different cases of internally displaced persons coming with different problems for us to handle.
Right.
And it's moving far beyond just the normal humanitarian intervention to more serious issues. Psychological support and counseling is primordial. Health, not only health, but also trying to find ways in which their children can go back to school, because some of them barely have the income, they barely have money to send back their children to school. So they're also looking for ways in which their children could get small scholarships that can send back their children to school.
All right, and have you been giving scholarship to some of them?
Usually we don't have a continuous scholarship scheme, but depending on the situation we find ourselves or we see, we are faced with, we provide school fees for them, that the children can at least start school. And for their parents, we can now engage them into short-term skills building that they can now follow up for their
so that they can be able to take care of themselves and their children. We'll continue to talk about the way out, because where we are now, the most important thing seems to be the way out of this trouble kind of situation in which the two regions are today. And so we're going to talk about the strategy the Center for Human Rights and Democracy is putting in place to be able to bring those that you call critical stakeholders. You tell us about that. Who are the critical stakeholders on board to be able to chart a way to peace, to engage in a process of dialogue with government to find lasting solutions to this situation. But that is going to be after the press review.
The Garden Post exclaims, military and separatist crossfire leaves orphaned IDP girl dead in Kumba. As reported by Eden, after the death of Anjek Hilda and two headmasters in Bello Division Northwest Region, population says it's time to storm the streets and denounce the worthless killings. Another issue of the Garden Post reports, armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions, population bearing brunt of lockdown as struggle stalls. Kumba residents scramble for food as lockdown bites harder. The Garden Post tells its readers that there is fresh hope for effective schooling in the northwest and southwest regions. Separatist warlord urges fighters and parents to allow children to go to school. According to the Horizon, 95% of separatist fighters are La Republique clones activists. Municipal Updates reports arrest of Eric Tato in the United States of America. The paper says he is being indicted for defrauding the American government to collect thousands of dollars for fictitious businesses. The Median, emerging chiefdoms and land grab. FACO senior divisional officer stalls Minat's order, scorns governor's threats. Municipal Updates. Common Decentralization Fund, President Paul Biya approves 250 billion francs CFA to boost local development. Newswatch. After Ali Bongo's overthrow, long-serving Semak neighbors on knife edge.
That was the press review. Dr. Violet YIGHA, you are a civil society leader, executive director of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy, and you are putting up this project to bring together those that you refer to as critical stakeholders to engage in dialogue process with government. First of all, who are the critical stakeholders?
These critical stakeholders are mainly civil society activists and members of other organizations that think they have the capability, potential, and the guts to pursue a peaceful process to the different conflicts in Cameroon. Because looking at the after effect of the crisis, I think there's need for us to start adopting a non-violence path to the different crises. We need to start looking for a solution that will curb this number of violations, this number of killings that are happening every other day. I mean, you live without knowing what tomorrow holds. So we are doing a clarion call to have a critical pool of stakeholders, 30 in number, that can sit and say, okay, we have the experience to talk about peace, because we've actually felt the brunt. We've actually worked with people who have felt the brunt of the crisis. We understand their plight. We understand the genesis of everything that has happened in Cameroon with the Boko Haram insurgency and the Anglophone crisis. And we can now sit and say, okay, these are strategies that we can propose to the key stakeholders to see that we bring a lasting peace to Cameroon, the peaceful Cameroon that we've always known.
Right, it's true that you're looking at various conflicts across the country, but I think the most important of all those conflicts should be
the Anglophone crisis.
The Anglophone crisis. Yeah. Now, there's been an issue about who is the right person to talk on behalf of this group of person or the other group, and you're looking forward to have just 30 critical stakeholders, as you refer to them. Now, what mechanism have you put in place to be sure or to ensure that the 30 are going to be as representative as possible in terms of having all the different communities represented in such a way as to bring out something that will be acceptable not only by Anglophones, those from the northwest and southwest regions, but also by others from across the board, because you have broadened your scope of action to the national territory at large.
And that's why we're using the media, which is a key stakeholder, to pass out this message, to do our clarion call for key stakeholders. Because we believe using the media as an intermediary to send out this message, we will be able to get to a wide group of persons that can actually stand out and say, okay, I think we know this person, or we know that this person can actually intervene into this. And we will not only end by the fact that when they indicate their interest, we just enlist them. We must look at your profile and see the work that you've been able to do since, if you are applying under the Anglophone crisis, we should be able to see your track record of what you've been able to do since 2016. If you are applying based on maybe the Boko Haram insurgencies, we should be able to see. And if you are not part of the two warring regions, we should be able to do the different interventions, the work that you'll be able to do as far as the different crises in Cameroon are concerned. We want to make
it's going to be a kind of screening
process. We want to make it in such a way that we will not be accused of just handpicking friends and relatives and people we know.
That is what those are some of the things that were said about the national dialogue. That was described as a monologue of friends.
Exactly. So we that's why I said media was our first target. We use the media to send out the information. So if you are getting to us, with a track record of the work that you've been able to do as far as the different crises in Cameroon are concerned.
Now, the dialogue you want to engage with government, what's going to be the difference between what you're doing now and the major national dialogue that has yielded some fruits according to the government authorities, but which has not brought the much needed peace and stability in the two English-speaking regions?
Babila, if I have to sit here and tell you, okay, point one, this is the impact, then I'm lying. I think I'm looking for critical stakeholders that should sit and discuss, lay down strategies. Certainly, if I have them staged already, I should not be looking for those key stakeholders. So when I get the key stakeholders, we should be able to engage in the discussion based on their different experiences, to be able to develop now and look for something that stands out. It's like a panacea to all the other efforts that have been made in looking for a lasting peace, to a solution to the different crises in Cameroon.
Now, something that appears to be similar between what you're doing now and the major national dialogue is the national character. That is, you're looking forward to finding solutions to various conflicts across the board. Notably those that we have cited, the Anglophone crisis, and then we have the Boko Haram conflict in the far north, and then we have other issues in the east with rebels and other conflicts around the national territory. Why open up to the national territory? Because that is one of the things that was said by critics concerning the national dialogue, that it was supposed to be a dialogue between the Anglophone leaders of the Anglophone communities and the government, and not a broad-based dialogue that brings everything on board.
If we want to focus, it's true that yes, we are based in the northwest, we are based in the southwest, and the Anglophone crisis directly affects us. It does not mean that the Boko Haram insurgency does not affect Cameroonians. And CHRDA being a national non-governmental organization, we cannot ignore the fact that the Boko Haram organization. Yes, we cannot ignore the fact that the Boko Haram insurgency is also causing a lot of violations in Cameroon. So certainly our hope is that it will be different from the national dialogue. And I'm giving that task to our critical pool of stakeholders to engage the stakeholders that be in bringing a lasting peace, in bringing, at least let's start getting strategies that do not involve violence. Let's adopt a more transformative path, which is non-violence. Even if we are fighting amongst ourselves, the population should not suffer. If we are fighting amongst ourselves, we should not be abusing the fundamental human rights of people, which is the right to education and right to life.
Right. And when you would have had the stakeholders on board, what are you looking up to in terms of priorities? Priorities that should normally be like the at the top of your preference list, in order to start from where we have more trouble and then progress to the other areas. What are the priorities that you're targeting?
I would say the first is trying to create a dialogue between the two parties that be. That should be our first
The
priority.
warring parties.
Yes, that should be our first priority. And if we are able to create a path or an avenue where we can have a dialogue, and then I think from there we should be able to develop other strategies that we can start looking for that could bring a solution to peace. Because it's not also only the warring parties, but also those who have actually been affected. Because, like I said, their mental health has really been traumatized. We cannot ignore that. It's not only about bringing a mid-on solutions to them and say, okay, we think that after 7 years of crisis, you can go back to your communities and start living a normal life. No, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done to try to reintegrate them back into their society. So I would say the first thing is, how do we create a platform where we can bring the warring parties to even want to start listening to us?
Are you looking at the possibility of having government authorities on one hand, that's for the case of the Anglophone crisis, government authorities on one hand and the secessionist leaders on the other hand, and probably other representatives of the Anglophone community, leaders, other leaders, and bringing both of them on board to be able to look at one another and talk?
That would be like a telenovela, but our hope is that we'll get there.
All right. All right. So that is your target is to restore peace. That is the most important thing about it, is to be able to restore peace. Now, have you given yourself a kind of a timeline,
6 months,
an objective, a target to be attained or to be achieved within a specific
period?
timeline?
So we have 6 months to accomplish this task. The first month we are doing the clear-on call to get the stakeholders. When we get the key stakeholders and we are able to go through their profile, there will be a training. We need to do an effective training with these key stakeholders to be sure that they are ready for the task ahead. And when we are done with that, we now start engaging in the real job that they were recruited for.
All right, creating the pathway to a platform where you can have everybody coming on board to discuss.
Yeah.
Now, what are you thinking about? What are your thoughts concerning the venue? Once you must have gone through these stages of bringing the stakeholders on board together, and then you start creating that platform. Are you thinking about Cameroon, out of Cameroon? There were some people who were talking some time ago about the possibility of a conference in Ghana.
A neutral position.
A neutral position.
I will not say I want to do it out of Cameroon. It will be in Cameroon. It will be in Cameroon, but I cannot say where, and I cannot say when. But certainly, whatever we are doing should be, because it concerns us, it's about us, it should be in Cameroon.
You agree with those who say solutions or Cameroonian solutions to Cameroonian problems in Cameroon?
Yes.
You not go to the neighbor's house to
solve your problem.
All right. I hope that we will be able to progress with that, and that you will not be hindered like, or you will not be able to go through like Cardinal Tomi tried as much as he can with Dr. Munzu and Eli Smith and all the rest to bring together Anglophones to discuss, and that never happened.
Our hope is to build on their shortcomings, to build on the challenges that they faced, and see if we can get 2 steps ahead. Because at the end of the day, we cannot keep getting 100, 200 killings. I mean, if you look at the synopsis of our human rights report, which will be published soon, you'll be shocked at the number of killings we've recorded just between January and June. We've had like 120 or 30 killings, and those are just cases recorded by CHRDA. We've had arbitrary arrests and detention and all of that. So when we look at the consequences of the crisis, or look at the number of children, number of young girls who have been raped, and then they now have children that they don't know the fathers, I think it's high time we move from always thinking that some people had made an effort and it failed. What do you think yours will be? What added advantage do you think yours will bring? To a point where we have people who are committed, we have people who have seen the effort that others have made, and they are ready to take a step ahead to improve on and see how they can propose solutions. We are proposing. We are trying to. Because when we say, if we say we want to enforce or put it on persons, certainly there will be a problem. So we are proposing strategies that can be adopted to bring a non-violent solution to this crisis that we are facing in Anglophone Cameroon and the Boko Haram.
Okay, the emphasis is on non-violent solutions.
Yes.
Guns are still talking. Guns are still talking, and other things still happening. And in the midst of all that, you're bringing in non-violent solutions.
Yes.
How convinced are you about this non-violent solution in the midst of gunshots?
Trust me, the events of Thursday kept me thinking. It kept me thinking. I was surprised that we could get that in Boya. I was actually surprised. It kept me thinking, but I'm positive. I'm quite positive, because I thought as the years goes by, and with the videos I saw online with people calling students or parents to go to school, I thought this year could be better. I thought this year would come to the realization that stopping children from going to school will never be a solution, will never be. But the events of Thursday, like I said, I'm just positive that this could be the pathway.
We hope so. Thanks so much, Dr. Violet YIGHA, Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Babida.
We wish you the best.
Thank you.
Joining us from West Virginia, United States of America, is our second guest in this edition of the program, Honorable Dr. NICOLAS SANTO. He's a civil society leader, a USA Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award 2022 winner, and also winner of the Roving Ambassador for Peace Award, awarded by the Cameroon National Press and Watchdog Society. He's a member of the Nkwefondom Administrative Council in charge of relations with the diaspora. He is an ex-leader of the secession movement in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Honorable, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila, and thank you very much, Equinoxe, for inviting me once more. It's a pleasure.
You are today referred to as an honorable as a result of the USA Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award 2022, which you received. Tell us more about this award. You're one of the few Cameroonians who have received this award.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Babila. you know, as we work for humanity, along the line, there are always some hidden eyes that are watching whatever we do. Having this award was a surprise to me, but it's no doubt a compensation for the work I do for humanity in the United States as a clinical psychologist and a social worker. This award was on September 29, 2022. That was the U.S. President's Lifetime Achievement Award. And it came as a result of the work I do in the field of mental health, in treating patients who are mentally unstable in numerous clinics and for the Department of Health, and also in my university work, wherein I volunteered a lot of hours of work without pay, because I've been undertaking a lot of sacrifices and contributions in this domain. For example, Walden University, which is a recognized university in the United States, I was also given an honorary clinical instructor award in 2021 for mentoring master's degree nurse practitioners, psychotherapy, and group counseling. So I have been having a lot of awards. It's not only what you mentioned. There's the U.S. President Lifetime Achievement Award. There's the Rubin Ambassador for Peace Award, because you know about the work I've been doing with regards to the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest, wherein some of us who joined the marginalization protest decamped from Ambazonia struggle because of arms that were picked up, and decided to be working for peace. I was also a founder of Peace Task Force Initiative that came up with a lot of proposals to the Cameroon government on how to resolve this crisis. We initiated the Ghana Peace Conference, which did not take place. Even the Canadian conference that came up, were partly some of our ideas so far as finding a lasting solution to the problem in the Northwest and Southwest province, or regions. So I've been doing extensive work in many areas. Thank you.
Right, you decamped, as you said earlier, and today you are advising others who are still in the same cause in which you were yesterday, the fight against marginalization, as you called it, and today you're advising others to decamp. Are you also advising them to abandon the cause?
Yeah, Mr. Babila, although I can hear you faintly, but I guess your question is that what am I doing, or what are we doing, especially some of us who left this struggle, in terms of advising others who are still hanging in there. As you will recall, as far as 2019, 18 and 19, I resigned from the interim government of Samuel Ikomesako. And when I resigned, I went out on Cry Out TV. And I told them that picking up of arms was a very wrong thing to do. And I founded the Peace Task Force Initiative. And when I founded the Peace Task Force Initiative alongside other ex-combatants and ex-activists, we worked with some people who were still within, who came out. And you remember people like Macha Sofoncha, you remember people like Yannick Sikot, you remember people like Nyambere and others, and Success in Congo and others. We decided to start laying the foundation for peace talks and how we can resolve this amicably. And some of us attended the Grand National Dialogue, directly or indirectly, because there were people who were participating in the Grand National Dialogue virtually, someone like myself. So we had already sent out that call that this struggle or the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest having turned into an armed struggle and a bloodbath is not the way to go, and we call on them to drop their tools.
As we speak, the situation remains unstable, and uncertainty and fear gripping the population, gripping the people in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country with regards to the recent incidents recorded in those two predominantly English-speaking regions. 3 civilians killed and 2 vehicles set ablaze in the town of Boya, a 16-year-old young girl killed in Kumba, 2 teachers, including a headmaster, killed in Besa, in the Boy Division Northwest region of the country. A military vehicle ambushed and exploded in the residence of the divisional officer of Kumba 3, attacked, and the administrator saved by the Rapid Intervention Battalion. When you look at these incidents, what do you think about the unfolding situation in those 2 regions?
Mr. Babila, and frankly, I will tell you, that's exactly what I was saying, that the few catchments of people who are still in the bushes, having those guns that went into their hands, as a result of some of the activists who are still here and propagating donations, organizing donations and transferring these monies to them to cause mayhem so as to keep the 7-year-old crisis alive, are the people to blame. Because let me tell you, they know, and they are playing on the psychology of the population. They know that this is a failed revolution. It's a failed revolution. And I say it without a blink. It's a failed revolution. So the only way is to cause few atrocities, to instill panic and fear into people's hearts, so that the rest of the population can be scared to go indoors and lock themselves up. And they feel that tactics is working. Anytime they see peace returning to the territory, what they will do is they will call few persons around, give them monies to go and instill fright or fear into the minds of the population. And that is the strategy that they have been using. But let me tell you, some of us have called on them, who are even here in the diaspora, to stop this nonsense, because it's not going to, as far back as even when I was still coming out of the separatist camp, I told them, honestly, that there is no good for you to attain independence to govern a territory that everybody is dead. Today, we have lost a great deal of people, and it's still continuing because of stupidity. Because let me tell you, somebody cannot sit in the diaspora, going to his job, doing his businesses, sending his own children to school, raise money, and send to you to go into the bush and target a vehicle or target an SDO or target the population for elimination. And you go and do it. That's cowardice. Or somebody will not tell you, lock yourself up in the house and don't go out. Starve yourself. It's just like the same scenario whereby a pastor in one of the East African countries told all his worshippers not to fast for 40 days without eating and without drinking water. As a result of that, all of them died, and the pastor was arrested. So how different are we from that pastor? Because, to be sincere, the government of Cameroon has moved its position from the position where they were at the beginning of the crisis to somewhere understandable. But I don't see the hardliners of separatists, like the Ayabacho Lucas, the Chris Anos, and the John Kuros. I don't see them moving their own position and inch. Some of us have moved our positions to be federalist and unionist. Some of us have moved our positions to accept regionalism, decentralization, and the special status, asking for more. It means that we are not more in that position. Majority of us, the Anglophones, are no more in that position where we were from day one. And so the little handful of people who are still pushing this idea are people who have all made riches out of the mayhem of the people, and they enjoy the benefits they are reaping, and they want to stay in the game.
You said government has moved from its initial position, but the use of military force has not moved. And some analysts are highlighting this aspect of government's efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the 2 English-speaking regions as the cause of the deadlock, as the cause of the prevailing situation in those 2 regions. What is your take on the use of military force on the ground?
Frankly, Mr. Babila, you will see that it takes two to destroy. The government is a government. It's called a government because the government has a duty to protect the integrity and sovereignty of the state, as well as to protect the republican values of the country. When we say that government is taking moves to solve the problem, it means that the government has initiated its own way and through dialogue, which there are criticisms, however, that the dialogue is not representative of all. And there are still people in jail and other things, which are evidence that the government did not satisfy the people completely. But the issue is killing of people. It's killing of people. The most important way for the population to go at this moment are ghost towns, the only way with which we can resolve this issue. Because to me, there are other means by which this issue can be resolved rather than that. You know, the military only comes in to protect the people, because I have heard that the military, the population, the civilians now are more friendly to the military because we know the atrocities that the boys with the guns are causing. For example, they're killing people unjustly without any adjudication, which is not good. But the government use of force is both beneficial and is disadvantageous. So there are two sides of the coin, because most of the, for example, people who have been given the names black legs, if the government military forces are not there to protect those black legs, all of them will be killed. Because, for example, the freedom of speech or freedom of expression should be both sides. It's not because I do not support your extremist separatist point of view that you should target me for elimination. Because the ardent separatists or the diehards do not have any tolerance or mercy for anybody who doesn't preach their philosophy. Whereas the government also doesn't entertain anybody who calls for separation. So the population is now in a dilemma, because either any statement you use, one party may think that you are against him. If you use statements like peace, for example, if you use statements about peace or negotiation, they say, oh, you are now a black leg like myself. So, whereas in your honest mind, you are working for peace. So I will say that the use of force by the military is beneficial and also disadvantageous. So it's both sides of it's two sides of the same coin.
Government is equipping civilians, including ex-separatist fighters, to fight insecurity in the two regions. Earlier this week, we saw the senior division officer of the Njan division handing over motorcycles and other state materials to some civilians and ex-fighters in Mundemba to go fight. Is this the right thing to do?
Categorically wrong. Categorically wrong. As a ruling ambassador for peace and someone trying to look for a lasting solution to this crisis, I will not condone or not support any idea by government putting weapons and putting ammunition or resources into the hands of civilians to go combat other civilians. Because at the end of the day, it only comes back to civilians owning all these properties to use it back against the innocent persons and against the military. Then that keeps the war continuing. There's one point I want to make clearly to you, Mr. Babila. We should understand that there are some strategies within the government also who are beneficiaries of this war, that they don't want the war to end. People who come out with such ideologies of making arms, ammunitions, weapons, artilleries, motorcycles, armored cars, military uniforms fall into the hands of civilians are those who are encouraging the war to last forever. That is a bad strategy. Because let me tell you, most of the weapons that the boys today are terrorizing people with are weapons that they seized from the military or weapons that the military gave to the boys or sold to the boys and deserted from the army. So these weapons are being used now for harassment of the population and for armed robbery. So putting these weapons or putting these ammunition or resources in the hands of civilians further exacerbate the struggle. And the end result is that those ammunitions will be used for the wrong reasons, or those resources will be used for the wrong reason, either used for going after innocent population who are armless, or it will be used back against Cameroon security forces. Thank you.
To take some interviews right now. When we come back, we'll talk about the arrest of some persons identified as leaders of the secession movement in the diaspora. Interviews of the week.
Not easy at all. You cannot fit with the suffer for the ghost stand. Because the day inside house, but they begin for go school, the day backwards. So if I begin any man for this side for Douala, I would not move my family go again for day. Today too, it is still bad. Because nobody know they has a stand for yes. So yeah, I want to transfer this plum for go time for OIC. See what I feel help myself, make my life better small.
I don't want to hear again that those boys then here in Mabana native is very painful. Your own village, Masa, your own village. Your village, your village. Even the ancestors are there taking care of you, are going to give strength to you to fight. I cannot come and take my due to stay with you. And people are moving with gun in the village to come and kill him. They are not reporting to the forces of law and order for them to intervene. It means that there is a problem somewhere.
Those were interviews of the week. Honorable Dr. NICOLAS SANTO, you are in the diaspora and you are a member of the Nkwen Fondom Traditional or Administrative Council in charge of relations with the diaspora. What do you know more about? What do you know about the arrest of the secession leaders who are in the United States, for example, the latest case being that of Eric Tato? What do you know about that?
Thank you, Mr. Babila. The United States of America, which is a sovereign state, same like the state of Cameroon, of the Republic of Cameroon, has its laws. Indeed, there are laws that one should not breach. They classify these laws into misdemeanors and felonies. Felonies are higher crimes, huge crimes, crimes against humanity, embezzlement, fraud, violating laws that can lead to the endangering of human life, take away human life, murder, massacre, other things, putting human life in danger, or abuse of public office. But there are misdemeanors, which are minor issues, infractions, like driving red lights and tickets and other things. But when it comes to an issue that goes to the level of the Federal Bureau for Investigation, the FBI, it means it's a felony. And in this category, we have seen many Cameroonians of late being victims or being culprits of certain crimes. So in the case of Eric Tato, the primary issue here is tampering with witnesses, which means that the case under which he's been held is the case concerning the COVID-19 funds to companies and business persons in the United States. It was given to sole proprietors. It was given to businessmen as some sort of to make up with payrolls for employees, as he owns a car rental company, which is like a chain company called Dimples. So he collected money which was supposed to be meant for salary of workers and to take care of company bills and other things, primarily payrolls of employees. So it seems, or according to what I'm reading from the Court of Maryland, they are saying Eric Tato, popularly known as Ambazonia Gary Master, is facing severe legal troubles as he has been arrested for loan fraud and tampering with a witness statement, which means this is what I'm saying that is online that you can Google and you will see the court charges as well. So it has two main reasons why he's been held. Is for fraud. It's for fraud and tampering with witness statements, because this money was supposed to be used for a particular purpose. And as a result, it seemed he didn't, according to the court document, he didn't use the money for that purpose.
Let me get it clearly. Are you saying that his arrest has nothing to do with the secession movement in Cameroon?
Yes, Mr. Babila. When you go for a case, when you are arrested for a case, the issues before the judge are the issues to be looked into. The issues concern the PPI, the loan that was given to business persons that was obtained or used fraudulently, and he attempted to tamper with witness statements. Now, the issue about having other issues which were under investigation as deposited by the Sci law firm, which I know about, the accounts and issues about terrorism and other issues are issues that may not play a key role in this particular court case.
Honorable, what will be your advice in some few words to all persons concerned directly or indirectly with the happenings in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, particularly those of you who are in the diaspora?
It's been 7 years. We have been following people who are manipulators, persons who sit so comfortably in the diaspora, their own children are going to school, persons who go about their businesses as usual, people who don't mean good to you people. These are not the people that you have to keep listening to. For the government, errors have already been done with previous weapons that went into the northwest and southwest. 7,000 or 70,000 troops that were dispatched at the early phase of this. Some of them disarmed themselves, sold some of these weapons, went into the bushes and forests. And that's how civilians got some of these weapons.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. NICOLAS SANTO. You are a civil society leader. You are a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award 2022 winner, member of the Quenfondom Administrative Council in charge of relations with the diaspora. Thank you very much for joining us today. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for today's edition of the program. Goodbye.